Hi, my dear Rasta family. I'm going to be doing a weekly forecast for the week December 2nd or December 1st until December the 7th, 2025. I'm going to be telling you the aspects that are happening this week, and I'm going to be giving you some descriptions of those. If you would like to know a little bit more about how it might be playing out for certain rising signs, as well as you want to know a little bit more about the asteroids, then you might want to be joining my YouTube membership, or you can go on my website as well because I break this down for all 12 signs. And usually each sign is around 15 to 20 minutes, depending on how busy the week is. So let's have a look at exactly what is happening this week. Firstly, let me just tell you what aspects are happening. Because sometimes I try to read them together, but I'm going to be sharing the screen as well so that you can exactly see what is happening. So let me adjust the time clock. Oh, in the meantime, if you would like to take advantage of my 50% discount as Black Friday, this is your very last chance. So today is the very last opportunity to grab courses, webinars, or a personal reading with me for 2026. It's going to be finished around midnight European time. So go ahead and book your spot right now. But let's exactly have a look what happens. So on the 1st of December, we don't have a major aspect, but on the 2nd of December, we've got Venus in Sagittarius, sextile Pluto in Aquarius. Now, first of all, Venus is about relationship, and Pluto is about deepening something. So, some of the key phrases that might be coming up with this combination is trying to deepen our connections with others, but this might be also talking to us about the philosophical transformation of our belief system. We might want to be making meaningful connections with others. So, this is a fantastic transit, for example, for moving a relationship. From a superficial to the more profound stages of it. Venus in Sagittarius seeks freedom and honesty and shared vision in love, while Pluto in Aquarius represents the deep structural change, the empowerment of authenticity within our social circle and future goals. So, on a personal level, this could really talk to us about that maybe you are having an eye-opening conversation, for example, that solidifies a commitment or reveals a powerful shared belief. Maybe you have got a friend of yours, like a casual acquaintance, and that could turn into more of a meaningful connection because somehow the conversation might bring us together. We realize that we are sharing the same life path. Um, Yes. So that's a very nice aspect to have. I would say that this aspect also can be super good for collaborations as well, or if you have had some intense moment connected to relationships, then this even could talk to you about that now we can sit down and then potentially just having an open and honest conversation, deepening our bond and having an understanding why certain people act in different ways. Now, on the 4th of December, we've got a full moon happening in the sign of Gemini, which I made a very deep reading about. So, here I'm just going to be giving you a bit of a summary. The reason why this full moon is super special, it's because it's happening on 13 degree and it's going to be in a very tight square to the nodes. So the north node is in the sign of Pisces and the south node is in the sign of Virgo. It really looks like that this full moon is at a crisis situation. It is highlighting certain type of choices for us. So the choice is whether I'm going to go with Virgo, which is about criticism, judgment, work, a lot of information in a way. So this full moon is bringing in topics all around clarity. A full moon brings up topic about culmination of a situation. Gemini is the communication, duality, and the mind. So it looks like that it floods the mind with information, choices, mental energy. Because it's a square to the node, it forces a crisis of consciousness. Kind of like whether you are using your mind to serve your soul purpose, which is the north node in the sign of Pisces, or are you getting stuck in that anxious perfectionist analysis mode? And that would be the Virgo south node. This full moon is super important because the ruler of it, Mercury, is about to be forming a grand trine, a grand water trine, which is going to be the third, so the very last grand trine that is going to be happening between these three planets. So it looks like that the mental and emotional clarity achieved during the full moon becomes the catalyst for a from the tremendous stability and flow of the Grand Trine 2 days later, but I'm going to talk about that. So that mind chaos of the full moon is going to get cleared up for many of us once the Grand Trine is playing a role. But I'm going to come on to that. I want to talk about that a little bit deeper. Now, on the 5th of December, we've got Mars in Sagittarius in trine to Chiron. So this is about being courageous to start healing process, being inspired about taking actions, taking a leap of faith to overcome an old wound. So when it comes to Mars, which is by the way out of bound, remember I made a video about that a couple of weeks ago. It's going to be out of bound until the 3rd of January. But Mars always wants to take an action, and it is being motivated by a belief, the truth, a vision for the future. And that trine to Chiron in Aries, we call Chiron as the wounded healer, is in the sign of Mars. So this is about learning to initiate. This is somehow acting on our core wounds, acting on something that actually truly hurts. And maybe Mars feels like that this is something that I'm going to be able to address quite significantly. Now, I'd like to mention very quickly, though, that we do have got Mars making a conjunction to Juno as well this week. And this is happening on the 4th of December. So, we've got the planet of initiatives unites with the asteroid of partnership. So this is kind of like uniting with someone, and then if there is any type of trouble, if there is any type of pain, we can actually eliminate that together. Juno can be a contractual partner, it could be a romantic partner. So it means when a conjunction happens that we are on the same page. Potentially, it's meeting someone who has got the same pain as you, and then we can kind of work together to kind of cut it out because Mars wants to cut things away from us. Yes, this Mars has got a very strong desire for adventure. This is kind of like you sit down with your partner and then we decide out of the blue that we're gonna travel, we're gonna relocate, we're gonna jump out of a plane, whatever we wanna be doing. We are ready to go towards something that we might not have experienced yet, but it is calling us. And this is exactly because you can see that we have got a Sun and North Node square happening as well on the very same day, on the 5th of December. This is exactly what the Sun is inviting us to do. Go towards something that we have no clue about. And maybe that's a faraway place, Pisces. Maybe that's the unknown. Maybe that's a dream of ours. Rather than being that perfectionist, someone who has to analyze everything and so forth, because you're just gonna get paralyzed. The Mars is the planet of passion. And then when we unite with someone who shares our same vision, then basically we can help each other out as well. And maybe you feel supported again with that Mars Chiron trine. Maybe you are getting the motivation from that particular person. A conjunction is always about a new beginning. So this is very much about the new possibilities because Sagittarius represents possibilities as well, opportunities. So this is an opportunity for you to become who you have always wanted to become together with someone else. Yes, this could be a highly assertive position as well. So this could indicate, for example, that you might end up having arguments. You're trying to defend yourself. You are standing up for yourself. Remembering that Mars is out of bounds, so it's actually very easy to kind of get into arguments within a partnership as well, especially if we are not on the same page. The reason why I wanted to mention that is because if we move a little bit forward, you will see that on the 9th of December, Mars is going to be in square to Saturn. But I'm going to be talking to you about that next week. But this is the reason why, yes, it's a beautiful trine, but Saturn is already in the picture. So it could indicate that, we are going on that big adventure and then we run into certain type of challenges. And the challenges could be, that we lose faith, for example, when it's in the sign of Pisces. That's one of the manifestation of that. Okay, so I think this 5th of December could be a brilliant day for certain type of therapeutic type of breakthroughs. Maybe you just have got that sudden surge of confidence to speak up, to start a new personal project, making physical changes in your body as well, or you are challenging yourself physically. Imagine that you have always been able to, I don't know, lift only 50 kilos at the gym, and then now I'm going to challenge myself to lift 60 kilos. And maybe, it's a little bit of a daring game with a partner of ours. And, I'm sure you can't do that. Oh, okay, yeah, this and that. And then you end up being able to prove yourself. Therefore, watch out because it could cause injuries as well. Chiron represent injuries. But the action you take here is about fundamental healing. Now, Mercury is making that grand trine, which is going to be happening on the 6th of December. Well, Mercury is going to be making the trine to Jupiter, and then 2 days later, Mercury is going to be making the trine to Saturn. But let me talk about the bigger picture altogether. This is about understanding something. This is about stabilizing your wisdom. This is about gaining emotional security and manifesting something as well. So, like I said, we had a full moon happening a few days before in the sign of Gemini. So, this grand trine is actually allowing you to manifest. So, Mercury in Scorpio is deep, investigative. It's looking for certain type of solutions. It is looking for possibilities of how to release a certain type of, karmic endeavors, for example. Remember that Mercury just went direct recently. So that happened on the 29th of November. So this is still in the shadow period. This Mercury might be about having to have an intensive conversation with someone, or maybe this is an internal dialogue. It's a researcher, Mercury. This is the Sherlock Holmes Mercury, who is looking at certain type of old messages, old conversations. But because Mercury went direct already, it says you have got all the pieces that you need to be able to start the healing work. Water is about emotions, uh, um, um, healings. So Saturn says in the sign of Pisces, get your emotions, those flood of intuitions, those flood of emotions in check. Yes, Mercury is looking for an answer, so it is still investigating certain type of secrets. And it's in the shadows, so it feels like that something is still lurking there, but it looks like you gain mental clarity. So you might want to be exposing certain type of flows, for example, in a system, or with the trine to Jupiter, you are ready to look at it from a different angle as well. Mm. So it really feels like that this is a week of understanding where you come from, your deepest thoughts. Basically, find this stable, compassionate structure, and it is used to build that secure, meaningful personal life. This might be an indicator. Often the problem is that we think that, a grand trend is going to bring us something in the outer world, but this is a water sign, so often this is about internal experiences. The full moon caused a bit of a chaotic information, and it looks like that you have processed it. And now you have got an actionable wisdom or plan. So, yeah. However, our next stop is because at the same time, Mars is in quincunx to Jupiter, and that's going to be happening on the 7th of December. And a quincunx would talk to you like you see. So what happens here is that Mars is making a quincunx to Jupiter, and then a couple of days later, it's going to be making the square to Saturn. So that's why I pretty much wanted to make sure that we speak about that Saturn slightly bit, even though it is going to be happening next week. But also, I would like to mention that I have made a video about Mars and Saturn square. So you might want to be revisiting that video as well. But now let's talk about that Mars quincunx to Jupiter. So it's about adjusting our enthusiasm. Potentially, our actions needs to align with our deepest security. In a way, it's about rerouting our ambitions. Now, the quincunx, which is a 150-degree aspect, it demands adjustments. So remember, Mars is in Sagittarius. It wants to charge ahead. It wants to figure out the truth. It wants the freedom. But its dispositor, meaning the ruler of Sagittarius, is Jupiter, and they are in conflict. So imagine this as the landlord and the tenant are having a fight because they are somehow not on the same page. And everyone has to adjust here a little bit. So Jupiter retrograde is in Cancer, which insists that all actions must be rooted in emotional security. A deep personal yes. So Mars is asked to adjust its fiery, outward bound energy to serve the inward bound, reflective needs of Jupiter. But Mars is out of bound, and out of bound Mars means that this is a super unpredictable Mars. This is a wild one. This is a non-conformist Mars. So God knows if Jupiter can contain it. But surely, on a personal level, you might feel a sudden need to reevaluate where your energy is going. Is this passion project undermining your home life? Is your pursuit of truth costing you the sense of safety or security? So, this is the energy of that Mars quincunx to Jupiter. So, well, like I said, there is that um, square to Mars as well. So Saturn is the structure, limitation, the reality, and Pisces is boundaries, dissolution, sacrifice. So it looks like that we have got some confusing circumstances going on. Maybe we are feeling overwhelmed by the collective needs or your life circumstances, basically. And what it does is that Saturn in the sign of Pisces, which is in grand trine to Mercury, shows that structure and stability is possible. But the approaching square with Mars suggests that stability must be fought for. Mars is disposing Mercury, right? And then it is squaring in Saturn. So the grand trine is only going to be happening if we are able to fight for it, but also we are taking calculative risks. Intellectual, emotional clarity can be achieved, but you're gonna have to be taking a deep breath, count to 10, because there are external frustrations happening at the same time. And this is about basically securing your wisdom, if that kind of like makes sense. The square is somehow showing us the root of the frustration. And there is an established boundary here, or having to make sacrifices all the time, and that is the frustration. And maybe that Mercury is looking for ways out of it. So let me give you kind of like an overall picture of the week. It looks like that there is a lot of expansion possibility for everyone through introspections. I think patience is mandatory, especially on December 6th and 7th. Maybe we feel super frustrated. There might be delays and obstacles and blocks, to our forward momentum. And maybe the good piece of advice would be there is not to try to force things forward. I think we're going to have to act with integrity rather than with impulse. That Mars in Sagittarius is very fanatic for truth, and Saturn in Pisces asks us, is your truth compassionate? And potentially spiritual discipline is also a huge key as well. Saturn in Pisces rules retreat, contemplations, and dissolving the ego. So when you feel blocked, your highest path is to retreat, to meditate, and ask what sacrificing this particular goal, action will achieve for my higher purpose. So, to give you a couple of scenarios, let's imagine that we are very eager to launch a new program, a new project, but you are feeling blocked by bureaucracy or the lack of funding or certain type of institutional criteria, for example. And this week tells you not to quit, not to lash out. Use the Grand Trine energy to restructure your plan, to recognize that the delay might be giving you time to build more of a secure foundation. Or in relationships, this could indicate that you want to be brutally honest with a loved one, but your words and actions are met with confusing resistance or avoidance or emotional overwhelm. And Saturn in Pisces reminds you that truth must be tempered with compassion and boundaries. And maybe you need to accept that you cannot fix or rush another person's healing process. So set a healthy boundary instead of forcing the issue upon someone else. So, guys, this is your brief weekly forecast for the week ahead. I hope it helps. And then if it does, please go ahead, press like, subscribe to the channel. Next week, we have got a tremendous amount of energy patterns. So stay tuned. Take care. Bye bye.